What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports Match, you guys, with another video. In this video, I'm here with my XFL Week 2 power rankings going into Week 2 of the XFL season after Week 1 of the XFL kicked off. Now, before I begin, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I upload NFL videos, XFL videos, and college football videos daily. So, Week 1 of the XFL is over. And now these rankings are going to be reflecting those Week 1 matchups and scores and results as we go into Week 2 of the XFL season. So these teams are solely based on my opinion of these teams. So I know a lot of people are going to have their own differentiations of how they rank these teams worst to best. So let me know your power rankings down below in the comment section down below. And let's start off with number 1. At number 1, I have the Houston Roughnecks. Now, the Houston Roughnecks kicked off the XFL season with a win versus the Los Angeles Wildcats. In a game that they won 37-17. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to find out that the Houston Roughnecks have the best quarterback in the XFL and PJ Walker. I mean, PJ Walker had 4 touchdowns, only threw 1 interception, which was inside the red zone. I mean, this Houston Roughnecks offense, I mean, it looked basically unstoppable. And this is a LA Wildcats team that was without their starting quarterback in Josh Johnson, who I believed was injured in the game because, I mean, they ended up benching their starting quarterback who ended up starting the game. He ended up getting benched midway through the third quarter. They ended up putting the third string quarterback in. Then he ended up getting benched, and the quarterback who ended up starting the game for the LA Wildcats ended up getting back in the game. So I'm just taking it that Josh Johnson ended up being injured and he wasn't able to go. And I mean, listen, the Houston Roughnecks were dominant. They could not be stopped, especially through the air. And I mean, look, they look like the best offense in the XFL so far. And so far, I think they are the best team in the XFL. At number 2, I have the New York Guardians. Now, the New York Guardians blew out the Tampa Bay Vipers 23-3. And it was very surprising to me. And it's not surprising that they won that game. It's the fact that they blew out the Tampa Bay Vipers, because I had the Tampa Bay Vipers the third best team coming into the XFL. And I mean, their secondary for the New York Guardians, they have the best secondary in the XFL, by my opinion. I know it's week 1, but based on what we've seen so far, I think the New York Guardians have the best secondary in all the XFL. I mean, Jamar Summers, a lot of those guys were making a lot of big plays, and the Tampa Bay Vipers were not able to get in rhythm when it comes to their passing attack, and that's led by Aaron Murray. Aaron Murray, I still believe, is one of the best quarterbacks in the XFL. Although he didn't really have a good showing, that's given to the fact that the New York Guardians secondary was absolutely locked down. So I think the New York Guardians are the second best team in the XFL. Now, I know they didn't really have a great day on the offense side of the ball. I mean, their offense was pretty okay, but we didn't really see a lot of extraordinary big plays like we've seen out of the Roughnecks and the other teams that I have below the New York Guardians. But I think the New York Guardians offense did enough, and their defense is really, really good. So I have them at number 2 after their win versus the Tampa Bay Vipers 23-3. At number 3, I have the DC Defenders. Now, the DC Defenders, they beat the Seattle Dragons 31-19. Now, the game started off pretty slow for the DC Defenders. They struggled to really get in rhythm on the offensive side of the ball, but this is more of a big play offense. They like to take a lot of shots down the field, and we kind of saw that with Cardale Jones. He ended up getting in rhythm, and once he got in rhythm, this DC Defenders offense got going. I mean, Cardale Jones had a really good day. He had a couple of mental mistakes, but he was able to bounce back from those and able to lead the DC Defenders to a win versus the Seattle Dragons, which I was really surprised that the Seattle Dragons were able to hang in there with the DC Defenders the way they did, because in the second half of that game, you were able to see the differential and the amount of talent that those two teams had. And the fact that Seattle was able to hang in there with the DC Defenders for the most part was really impressive to me. So I have the DC Defenders at number 3. At number 4, I have the St. Louis Battlehawks with their win versus the Dallas Renegades, winning 15-9. Now, the St. Louis Battlehawks, they didn't really impress me at all. Their defense was pretty okay, but I mean, I still need to see what the St. Louis Battlehawks do next week, because the Dallas Renegades were without their starting quarterback and Landry Jones. So Landry Jones is supposed to be the face of the XFL, one of the faces of the XFL, and he's one of the better quarterbacks that we have in the XFL. And the fact that the Dallas Renegades were without him was a big reason why they ended up losing this game, why the St. Louis Battlehawks ended up coming away with the victory. And the Dallas Renegades nearly had the victory in their hands until the St. Louis Battlehawks scored a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to end up putting them on top. So I have the St. Louis Battlehawks at number 4. I still need to see a little bit more out of the St. Louis Battlehawks, but for right now, I have them at number 4. So at number 5, topping off the best teams that end up losing this week, I have the Dallas Renegades. Now, the Dallas Renegades lost to the St. Louis Battlehawks 15-9, who are number 4 in my power rankings. And I mean, it was a pretty okay loss if you ask me. I mean, look, the fact that they were able to lose that game 15-9 and they almost nearly won the game if it wasn't for a late touchdown late in the game. The Dallas Renegades were without their starting quarterback Landry Jones. So the fact that the game was able to be as close as it was and they didn't end up getting blown out was really impressive to me. So I think the Dallas Renegades aren't one of the worst teams in the XFL. And for me to put them a little bit lower, I have to see how good or how bad they are with Landry Jones. But since the fact they were able to keep the game so close without Landry Jones, I have them at number 5. At number 6, I have the Seattle Dragons. Now, the Seattle Dragons lost to the DC Defenders 31-19. And for the most part, I thought Seattle did pretty okay because we all knew that the DC Defenders were going to end up winning that game. The DC Defenders were favored to win that game by a good amount. And the fact that Seattle was able to hang around for the first 3 quarters was really impressive to me. So I think the Seattle Dragons, their offense, I really don't know what to think about their offense, but I think their defense was pretty good because their defense did come off a turnover or 2. So I think the Seattle Dragons right now are the 6th best team in the XFL right now. And it's still pretty hard to get a good read on the Seattle Dragons. I mean, they had some good things, they had some bad things, they had some highs, they had some lows. So it's hard for me to still get a read on the Seattle Dragons. And even before the XFL season started off, in my week 1 rankings coming into this week, had the Seattle Dragons at number 4, and I had them really middle of the pack because I didn't really know what to expect. They were pretty balanced to me, and even coming after this week, I still don't know if the Seattle Dragons are going to be a good team or a bad team. And that's with all these teams. We don't even know if some of these teams who I have higher up on my power ranks are going to end up folding and end up being really bad or really good. So it's still really early, but for the most part, I still really don't know what to think about the Seattle Dragons because their offense at times was really rolling, and then sometimes their defense looked really good. But I had them at number 6 for the most part. It's really hard for me to get a good read on the Seattle Dragons. At number 7, I have the Los Angeles Wildcats. Now, I'm going to take it that Josh Johnson ended up getting injured because he didn't even touch the field, and the quarterback play for the most part, I thought the guy who was starting the game for the Wildcats wasn't that bad. So the fact that he ended up getting taken out midway through the 3rd quarter is really surprising me. Now, I know at one point he ended up throwing like 9 straight incompletions, but I still don't think that's a reason I'm taking him out the game, man. I mean, listen, you got to let the guy get back into a flow. Sometimes guys just get cold in the middle of the game, and that's what separates some of the best quarterbacks from the average quarterbacks, how they bounce back from having, a little bit of a cold streak, how you bounce back from throwing multiple incompletions back to back to back, how do you bounce back from turning the football over, So I really would have liked to see the Wildcats coaching staff end up sticking with that guy who they had starting the game out instead of taking him in. Then you go ahead and you put in another guy, the guy who they had, who was the 3rd string quarterback I'm taking. He came in, and what does he do his first years? He throws an interception. So he didn't really do nothing. So they let them in for like 2 or 3 drives, I believe. Then they let the guy come back in who was starting the game for the Wildcats. So, I mean, I'm just going to take it at the fact that Josh Johnson ended up getting injured. But, I mean, the Wildcats, they did have a lead at one point of the game against the Houston Roughnecks, and then the Houston Roughnecks offense just absolutely started getting going, and I mean, PJ Walker couldn't be stopped. He was doing all kinds of things back there. He kind of looked a little bit like Russell Wilson back there. So, I mean, the Los Angeles Wildcats are number 7. I'm not going to put them as the worst team in the XFL because I still want to see what they look like with Josh Johnson. But at number 8, the worst team in the XFL so far on my power rankings are the Tampa Bay Vipers. And pretty much the most disappointing team so far has to be the Tampa Bay Vipers as well. And I mean, the fact that they got shut down by the New York Guardians was really surprising to me. But we can see a little bit of the problems that the Tampa Bay Vipers have. Now, the first thing is, I don't think quarterback should be a big debate right now. Now, I know Quinn Flowers and Aaron Murray are probably going to have a little bit of a quarterback competition, but I still think Aaron Murray should remain the starter, given the fact that this New York Guardians secondary was really, really good. And the Tampa Bay Vipers, their receiving core, I mean, the receivers that they have, they're big and they're physical guys, but they're really slow. They struggle to create separation. And also, Aaron Murray had a couple mistakes as well. He threw a couple of bad balls as well. But these wide receivers weren't really the best, in my opinion. Now, they do have 9 receivers on the roster, so I think they're going to have a little bit of a shake-up there. So it's going to be a little bit of a mix and match there. Are you going to prefer size, guys who have quick releases, or do you prefer your wide receivers to be big, strong, big body wide receivers who can catch those deep passes down the field? So that's going to be interesting to find out. But the Tampa Bay Vipers, in my opinion, are the worst team in the XFL, just simply for the fact that you only scored 3 points. I don't get how you only score 3 points in this XFL league. That this XFL, the rules that the XFL has put in place, is set to benefit offenses. So, I mean, for the Tampa Bay Vipers to only score 3 points was really disappointing to me. So, I think they are number 8, and they are the worst team in the XFL going into week 2 of the XFL. So, let me know what you guys think about my power rankings down below. I also want to see you guys' rankings down in the comment section down below. And also make sure to like the video, share the video with your friends, and thanks for watching.